Welcome to Retire Southern, where we share character-driven stories from across the South. Stories that remind us not to wait for retirement to start living, because life is too short to wait for someday. I'm your host, James Lewis, and today I am in New Orleans. I'm joined by Archie Casbarian, owner and operator of Arnaud's restaurant in the New Orleans French Quarter. Arnaud's has been in operation since 1918, and Archie's family is the only family to operate the restaurant other than its founder, Count Arnaud. Archie, welcome to Retire Southern.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You having a good day so far?
Having a wonderful day.
Getting ramped up for the Gras?
We're getting ready for Mardi Gras. We're still licking our wounds from the holidays, but such is this business. You don't have long to rest before the next one. Last year was such a crazy year in New Orleans with the way that it started, and then, with 10 inches of snow that we received.
That's right.
With all of the signs of the apocalypse that we were unveiled last year, I didn't think we were going to make it to the end of the year, but somehow we did, and we ended up with a tremendous year. So we were thankful about that.
So let's start here. When someone walks into Arnaud's for the very first time, what is it that you hope they feel immediately?
Well, I think when you walk into Arnaud's and into our main dining room, I think your first thought is, this is what a French Quarter restaurant should look like. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think with the old antique chandeliers and the fluted columns and the giant lead glass windows and the tile floors, mm-hmm. I just think that, and I hear this from customers all the time. They're just like, wow, this is what, it just feels like the French Quarter. And then, of course, we have a lot of private dining rooms upstairs. And I would say that, in those rooms, in those spaces, we want people to feel like they're dining in someone's elegant home. It's got character and style, but it doesn't feel like a sterile, just sort of ballroom or, mm-hmm. I won't disparage any other restaurants, but you know what I mean? We want it to feel like it's something special.
No, absolutely. And there is just in terms of feel, I can attest, having eaten in the main dining room and also having eaten in the private dining spaces, both incredible, but both also totally different.
If you're down here in the main dining room, it's going to be loud. It's going to be loud and it's going to be rocking depending mm-hmm. on the day of the week or the time of the year. And it can get that way in our private spaces as well, but they can be a little more subdued, or if you want to take it up a notch, you can do that too, which is kind of nice.
So the French 75 bar is iconic, even in a city known for legendary bars. What do you think gives the French 75 bar its staying power?
Well, so the French 75 bar has been around for a long time. Mm-hmm. It was originally a men's only grill, and it then operated that way for a while. When my family took over, it was changed. It was called Arnaud's Bar, and then we ultimately rebranded as the French 75 Bar. But mm-hmm. I think the main thing is that it's a very chic atmosphere. It's got expertly crafted cocktails. It's got, delicious bites, mm-hmm. To keep you going in between cocktails. And I think like the main thing is, we're right here in the middle of the French Quarter. Mm-hmm. And so you can go from the craziness potentially of what's going on out on Bourbon Street, and just a few doors down, it's almost like a little oasis.
Yeah.
I think that is really something that people appreciate.
It's really cool. You wouldn't know that you're literally sitting at the corner of Bienville and Bourbon Street, but the whole party's happening out there, and that's just a little respite.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right off of that. So you just mentioned it. Your family is the only family to operate Arnaud's other than the founding family. So when your parents first acquired the restaurant, that was 1978.
That's right.
You were just a couple years old. What are some of your earliest memories of this place?
I mean, when I say I grew up here or have grown up here, I literally have spent my whole life here. Mm-hmm. My earliest recollection is riding my big wheel around this dining room that we're sitting in right now, on Saturday afternoons. And I just remember, we always tell a story that Arnaud Cazeneuve was the founder of the restaurant, and his daughter Germaine ran the restaurant for many years mm-hmm. after he passed. And there's, of course, ghost stories. And sure. So about that they may be gone, but they're not totally gone. And so, as a kid, it was always a dare to see who would, sleep over in one of the rooms upstairs at night or, even now when you start hearing noises of these old buildings creaking, while I'm not a believer, I don't want to be proven wrong. And so, you still have that in the back of your mind. But, every major life event with family has been here. I got engaged here. I got, my wedding reception was here. It's in my blood. I mean, there's no other way to say it.
Yeah, that's amazing. How do you think about preserving tradition while still welcoming new generations of guests? How does that play together? Yeah,
we have at Arnaud's, we have a very unique situation in that we have generational clients and customers here. And so there's a lot of restaurants that get a lot of buzz and they're like the newest, greatest thing. And, they flip their menus daily and go to the market and things of that nature. And that's all wonderful. And I mean, I love those places as well. But here at the restaurant, we have people that come in all the time and say, oh, I remember coming here as a kid with my grandparents or with my parents and, or customers that say, oh, I was here 15 years ago and I remember having this dish and they want to have it again. And so, we have to balance that, and being true to who we are and what we are. And I think we know well what that is, but also trying to keep it fresh and, doing some fun things here and there. And so you're only as good as the last meal that you serve. And so we care very much about it and our name is on everything. And so, we earn our repitation daily.
You talk about generational guests. So my mother came here actually for her Sweet 16.
That's awesome.
She told me the story. She came here with my grandfather for her Sweet 16. It was the first time she had ever tried escargot. And I don't know if you remember the scene from Pretty Woman or not, but she claims she was trying the escargot and she accidentally flipped one.
Did a full flip. Yeah.
And it flipped onto the table next door. So no, it's
dangers of fine dining. You never know what's going to happen.
But when I think about Arnaud's, that's what I think about is having those personal family memories, having private dining events, upstairs.
And listen, that is why we do what we do, because it means something both to us and it means something to our customers that come year after year, day after day, month after month, et cetera, et cetera. This is part of their family celebrations. And, I spoke about all the things that were going on in my life, that has been spent here. And it feels good to know that there are many other families that do the same and feel the same way about us and Arnaud's.
Absolutely. So now we're going to sit down with Christoph Dornemann. We're here in the French 75 bar, the iconic French 75 bar. You are the beverage director. What do you like to call yourself here?
Usually it's like bar manager, beverage director to some point. I don't do everything under the roof of Arnaud's. There's a lot of moving parts, but I take part in all the drink menus, cocktails, mocktails, beer, that kind of thing. Well,
we're here in the iconic French 75 bar. The French 75 is one of the most recognizable cocktails in the world. So why don't you walk us through, if you would, its origins and how it became so closely associated with this place?
Yeah, so it goes back to World War One. The 75 comes from the 75 millimeter cannon that was used in World War One. So the story goes that the Allied soldiers, the French and Americans, wanted to basically do a salute or a cheers to honor this cannon that basically saved them in many, many battles. The traditional cheers from the French was a glass of champagne. The Americans wanted whiskey, but you couldn't really get whiskey in France at the time. So the closest thing to, in terms of like an aged spirit, was cognac. So the origin of the drink supposedly was a shot of cognac poured right in the champagne. And the idea was it was a small drink that packed a big punch. The introduction of lemon and sugar kind of came later when it became more of a drink. But the first time that it was ever published on, in a cocktail book or on a menu was actually made with gin. But that's because of the British Allied soldiers and their choice of gin over cognac. So it kind of has two origins. So there's the gin has an origin in terms of first time it was served as a cocktail, but the sort of original, foundation of the drink was with cognac. And being in New Orleans, being a French city or having a French identity and a French Creole restaurant, the owners at the time wanted to kind of stand out and pay tribute to cognac as the basis. So that was the reason that they chose to serve it with cognac. And at the time, it wasn't really a big deal. And honestly, even then, people weren't really drinking French 75s as much. It wasn't as common that you see in every cocktail bar. And over the years, this bar started getting more attention. People started coming in. There was definitely controversy with a lot of bartenders claiming that we're not making it right and that kind of thing. Cocktail historians, nagging us and saying we're not doing it right. But over time now, I've found a lot of places that serve it with cognac. And there's actually an edit in a cocktail history book that says, after further inspection, there's truth to the origin being with cognac. Okay. So we kind of always do an either or. Obviously, if somebody wants our French 75, we're going to make French 75 with cognac. But we serve plenty of gin ones, and it depends on, people's palates. But sometimes I say, if it's a little chilly out, I think cognac is a little more warmth. Yeah. Summer, spring, sometimes a gin 75 is lighter, crisper, if that's what you want.
What do you prefer?
Cognac all the way.
You're a cognac guy. Yeah. So if someone walks in to the French 75 bar and orders a French 75 and you're making it, unless they tell you otherwise, you're making it with cognac.
100%. I mean, we have an entire page on our menu dedicated to the history with all the ingredients laid out. So we're hoping that they're familiar with our style of making it. And I've even seen other bars that kind of pay tribute to us, and they'll say Arnaud's French 75. And just to show people like, hey, we're serving it Arnaud's way with cognac. So there's a few places that I've seen that made me really kind of smile, made me happy.
Why do you feel New Orleans places such importance on cocktail history and ritual? Why is that?
I mean, we're the origin of some of the most iconic cocktails, the Sazerac, the Ramos Gin Fizz, the Grasshopper. So we're sort of the birthplace of some of these iconic drinks. And there's something to be said about in the history of cocktails. There's sort of a what is called like the dark times, just like the 70s, 80s, where
this was the dark time of cocktails.
Oh yeah, okay. Where people were using canned products, not fresh juices. Party shots are kind of more popular than like classic cocktails. But New Orleans is one of those places, and especially Arnaud's, where you have people have been ordering Sazeracs throughout. I mean, there was a party shop moment in Arnaud's history, probably. People were making, sex on the beach or something.
I hope not.
Yeah. I mean, I made a few, but anyways.
Yeah, sure.
But you had these families that have coming here, and the bartenders here were serving Sazeracs and Ohen Frappés and these classic New Orleans cocktails throughout the entire time. There was no hiccup. There was no down period where these people were not coming and drinking Sazeracs and drinking classic cocktails. So I think that it wasn't as present in New Orleans culture, like that disappearance of that craft cocktail culture. It was just part of the tradition. So these families were still drinking their Sazeracs, and these old men were coming in, Manhattans, martinis, Sazeracs, old fashions. That was always part of the culture here. And so when we have new bartenders coming in, let's say they're moving from out of town, we have to teach them a lot of these kind of lesser known, but iconic cocktails that we serve here. And they're like, you guys make these? And I'm like, oh man, you're about to make 1,000 of them. Yes. So I think that really is what separates it. There's these drinks that nobody's ever heard of if you come from the rest of the country, and then we're doling out buckets of it, so. Well,
that's a great point, right? When I think about these classic craft cocktails, and I'll just say this as someone who appreciates one or two, maybe three. I've had a really good Sazerac, an old-fashioned Ramos Gin Fizz, what have you, and I've also had a really bad Sazerac, old-fashioned Ramos Gin Fizz. So knowing that, and knowing that you have new people coming in that you have to train, how do you maintain that consistency so that that person who comes in and wants his Sazerac a certain way, like they have that same experience every time?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's actually that challenging. Part of the process is saying, hey, if you want to work here, you're going to have to follow our specs. That's a very strict rule. I built this documentation of hundreds of cocktails, and I walk them through every build. The training process here is pretty extensive. We don't even when we hire bartenders, we train them as cocktail servers to start learning the systems, learning the points of service. A big part of our program, I think that is why we get a lot of attention, is really the service. I mean, The drinks are great, but a lot of places make good drinks. So our point is that we're part of this fine dining French Creole tradition of high-end service, and we try to instill that in the bar program as much as we can. Mm-hmm. So it takes a while to really get to the point where you're starting to make drinks here, and so they watch how we build the drinks. We give them I give them a pack of homework, and I generally try to make sure that everything is designed for efficiency. So usually it's more work for them to not make it our way than to make it our way. But also, once they taste the way that we make ours, they're like, oh man, this is really good.
It makes sense.
And we try to show like, hey, we're going to make, in my opinion, the best version of this classic as much as possible. And so they're not really looking to change those things. I mean, we change things here and there, but I convinced them like, hey, I don't think you're going to be disappointed with the way that we serve this drink.
So the French 75, obviously the signature drink. There's also a drink on your program called the Arnaud Special. Walk us through that drink. What are the origins of that? Where did it come from? What's in it?
Yeah.
Take me through that.
So this is a drink that actually dates back to, as far as I can find, the 40s. I looked through all the classic Arnaud's menus. We have a little treasure chest of the historic menus, are just like one of my favorite things to look over. And the oldest menu I could find with the Arnaud Special, I think, was 1942. But there's a few years missing, so I'm going to just go with 1940. It originated as nobody really knows who made the drink or who designed it. It was essentially a Rob Roy or like a Scotch Manhattan, but with the sweet vermouths replaced with Dubonnet. Dubonnet is a really cool French aperitif fortified wine. I absolutely love it. And it was just sort of a slightly unique twist, nothing super memorable, but nobody really ordered it at Arnaud's when I was working here. I mean, you'd get maybe one person every 6 months who looked it up online or found out about it and would ask for it. And so the consensus in the bar team at the time was just like, it's not that good and it's not that special, ironically. So I was a young punk and thought I could come up with sort of like an upgrade that still honors the origin of the drink. Mm-hmm. And at the time, kind of the narrative was that Scotch drinks don't sell. It's not really, it's not really something we're trying to do. So I built sort of an upgraded version that we tested. I had tasted it. We had all tasted it, but there was no consensus to put it on the menu. And then I think in 2018, I tested like, let's just put it on the French 75 menu, offer it as one of our house classics. Once it started selling really well, then it's like, I really want this to be part of Arnaud. I want somebody to sit down at Arnaud's. I know this sounds not that exciting, and order an Arnaud Special like they did in the 1940s, but with maybe a slightly elevated palate, or build. And now it's like easily one of our best-selling cocktails. It's French 75, Sazerac, Arnaud Special.
Really?
So
Okay.
It really makes me happy that it's kind of now part of our culture again, and it's this cocktail that really nobody paid attention to. And it's, we didn't create this French 75. I didn't get to tell that story, but it was the favorite drink of Germaine Wells, the daughter of Count Arnaud. Mm-hmm. So they kind of wanted to honor that tradition, but we didn't invent it. So there are two drinks that were really created here that are part of the cocktail culture, or the classic cocktail culture, and Arnaud Special is one of them. And now it really makes me happy that it's kind of back as
That's
part
really
of
cool.
our identity.
Yeah. We talked about training your team. What is the best advice you've ever received from someone in your role? And what is the best piece of advice that you like to give someone starting out in this role?
Yeah, directly from sort of my former mentor. He was a man of few words, but he said, trust your palate. When I was taking over, I was very young and I was probably a little intimidated, a little nervous, just, taking on such a huge honor, a huge task, and being part of this historic space, bar, etc. And so, there's a lot of insecurity that comes, and you're just like, am I worthy? Do I really have the skills? And, there's a lot of stuff I didn't know, and I'm still learning. I mean, it's impossible to really ever finish learning, especially in the bar world. But it was that moment of, I had designed a lot of cocktails for the dining room. Generally, everything that I was putting out, everybody thought was delicious. They taste, people were happy with the drinks I was putting out. So just that simple moment of just trust your palate. Mm-hmm. And when in doubt, just, hey, does it taste good?
Right.
And some people are great bartenders, but maybe they're not the best at creating drinks. And some people are really good at creating, but maybe can't knock them out. So there's that. And then there's an old cocktail book that just has the basic words that nothing is set in stone. So kind of allowing yourself to color outside the lines a little bit. Even when you're doing a classic, my rule is, we have to pay homage to the ingredients. The ingredients need to be there. But the way we build it, the specs, the balance, sometimes, we can do a blend of like sherries or vermouths to change it up a little bit. You can make the best version of a classic that nobody has ever had before while still honoring the history of the classic. So nothing's set in stone, and trust your palate.
Love that. From your position or your seat, what is the greatest responsibility that you have when it comes to stewarding a bar that is so intertwined with New Orleans culture?
Yeah, it's, like I said, it was pretty intimidating. There's multiple issues where people have been coming here before I even knew this place existed. Mm-hmm. Some of these people have been coming here before I've been born. So you need to honor that history. The bar's not even as old as it looks, but it's still historic. Arnaud's is historic. So you need to respect the people that have been coming here for generations to some degree, making sure that, for example, they get a Sazerac and they're not going to say, why is all this changed? What's going on? So, for example, I never changed the Sazerac, or I very, very minutely changed the Sazerac, but basically never going to change that or the French 75. So you have to allow people to come here who, let's say 20 years ago, they had their anniversary here, or they had a special occasion here, or they just discovered it. I had people that are like, man, we just walked into this place and it just changed us. Like every year we have to come now, and it's been part of our, tradition to come to New Orleans every time. So making sure that they feel at home, that they're still in the right place, they're still getting that service, those drinks, that feeling. And then there's another side that, showing people that we're steeped in history, but we're not tied down to it. So you're going to get really cool modern cocktails, and you're going to get drinks that you would never anticipate, and be in a classic space that feels like you're transported in time is the key. Mm-hmm. But then at the same time, my goal is to always show people like, hey, we're still at the top of our game, and you're going to get modern cocktails and, I hate to use the word, but mixology. and really a lot of it is like, I want to surprise people. I want them to be like, read the menu and kind of get excited and blown away that we're doing some of the stuff we're doing. And then simultaneously get a classic old fashioned or a martini and just be like, oh, this is perfect. It's like keeping the tradition, but also innovating. And that balance is very challenging. One thing that people don't know about this bar program is the theme of the whole bar program, or not the program, but essentially the 75 bar, and it sort of informs the restaurant, is that we are a French safari bar, which people don't really know. There's animal print and all this kind of tiki vibes a little bit. And so one of the things that makes me like proud of what we're doing, but also have fun with the space, because you're wearing a tuxedo every day, it gets a little stuffy. We do a lot of good tropical drinks, and we are sort of known as a secret tiki bar. So all of the Mai Tai, Zombie, Nui Nui, all the tiki classics, we try to also train that for all of our staff to make sure that anybody who wants those classic tiki drinks, they're going to get the best that they've ever had.
That's interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah, so it's something I always like to throw out there, because people are like, wait, you guys have an excellent Mai Tai. And I'm like, oh, we don't mess around with our tiki drinks. So just as a way of like, hey, you're going to get a Sazerac, and then you're going to get the best zombie you've ever had. And I like to be a space where you can get both of those, which is very hard to find.
Well, you just opened up a whole new world for me.
Yeah.
I'll end it with a light question. I'm a movie guy. There aren't too many movies out there. When I think about movies that feature, bartenders or the bar, two that I thought of this morning or Cocktail with Tom Cruise.
Oh, yeah.
And the other, depending on your age, is Roadhouse.
Oh, I love Roadhouse.
With either Patrick Swayze or Jake Gyllenhaal's the newer version. So which are you? Do you prefer the movie Cocktail or do you prefer the movie Roadhouse?
I got to go Roadhouse all the way.
Okay, but which version of Roadhouse?
Patrick Swayze. I didn't mind the new one, but the Patrick Swayze is like, it is.
And Sam Elliott.
Yeah. First of all, Sam Elliott, talk about a man crush, but
yeah.
He's just one of the coolest dudes in the history.
He's
of
a
the
dreamy
world.
guy.
Yeah, he's the coolest dude ever.
It's one of those movies where if you're flipping through the channels on TBS and it's on, it doesn't, you just stays there until it's over.
Oh yeah, you just like, well, I guess I'm doing this now. I'm canceling my plans.
Well, Christoph, I'm feeling a little thirsty. How do you feel about jumping behind the bar and showing us your chops?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
All right, let's go. I'll go make a drink.
All right, thank you. Sitting down with Chef Tommy DiGiovanni, Chef de Cuisine at Arnaud. So you have been here full-time as Chef de Cuisine for almost 30 years now.
Yes, that's correct.
So what does Arnaud's mean to you?
It means a lot, obviously. I spend that much time, and continuity here has been an extreme pleasure. It's one of the most historic places in the city as far as restaurants go. It carries a lot of passion, a lot of culture, and it certainly, resonated. I had a calling for it. I was here as sous chef.
Before you were Chef de Cuisine?
Before I was Chef de Cuisine.
So you were at the Fairmont Hotel? Correct?
I was at the Fairmont Hotel. Then I was brought over as sous chef here, left to go back to the Fairmont, Royal Orleans, came back here as exec chef, as Chef de Cuisine. So, and it had a calling for me. I mean, it was just, how could you not immerse yourself into this sort of environment and the culture again? It's just
So you grew up in the business. Now, DiGiovanni, I don't believe is a French last name.
No.
So, your father had an Italian restaurant.
Yeah, that's correct, in Metairie. So I went to culinary school upon graduation. I graduated from East Jefferson High School.
East Jeff?
Yeah, and went to Delgado. They had a good little culinary program and still do.
Yeah.
And I got inspired. I went to work at the Fairmont and truly got inspired by a lot of French chefs, European chefs over there at the time. Chefs from Finland, Switzerland, France, you name it.
So this was before they were acquired and became the Roosevelt Hotel.
That's correct.
Yeah, I've spent some time in the Sazerac bar.
Did you? Yeah, all right.
Not as a worker, just as a patron.
I understand. Yeah.
So when you think back, 30 years ago to your early days, when you first came in as Chef de Cuisine, what memories really stand out, most to you?
Memories that really I noticed right away is how well run and organized this restaurant. I mean, I'd worked in other restaurants around town, but it was just so well organized. I mean, it's just a machine, a well-oiled machine. Mm-hmm. It reminded me a lot of the hotel, the way it was structured.
So are you a guy that likes structure?
I do like structure, no doubt.
Is that how you run your kitchen?
I do my best. I do my best to imitate that, absolutely. But yeah, I was enamored. Mr. Archie Casbarian, his background was in hotels, European trained, and couldn't believe for a restaurant to be so well run, so organized. That and my mentor, my chef that brought me over, he had a lot of influence. And that was the two things that stuck out most, and I had a more intimate relationship with the chef being here in the restaurant versus a massive hotel. And so
did you all work together at the Fairmont?
That's correct.
And then he came here.
And he said, hey, come on, I got a spot for you. And I followed him over.
When I think about Arnaud's, I think about a lot of things, but the soufflé potatoes are, one of those iconic dishes that guests continue to talk about, long after the meal. What do you think makes those soufflé potatoes so special?
I think it's unique, for one thing. Not too many places are doing soufflé potatoes these days. The labor factor alone is just, very time consuming. I mean, it's a throwback to the grand days of cuisine. You go on back to the 20s and the 30s where going out to eat really, everybody dressed up. Everybody made an event out of it. And I think that soufflé, just something that was being unique, it just trickled down from generation to generation to generation. It's been passed along.
Yeah.
And, trust me, when we're out of these and we don't have them available or the quality's not there of the potato,
You hear
we
about it?
hear about it pretty harshly. I always say when I'm out of these, it's the death of me, you know?
Okay. What's the harshest 86 potato? Like, what's the harshest comment you ever got from someone?
Oh, there's been several. And, you know, the maitre d's don't share those critiques to me very often, but I just have to look in their face and, you know, it's a disappointment. It really is. But, you know, I'm also have a standard. Mm-hmm. If the potato is not right, you know, why will we, you know, serve it? And, you know, potatoes can be very, very finicky sometimes.
So let's talk about the process. I don't even know how it's done. So can you give us a little peek behind the curtain?
Sure. So the potato is carved. Mm-hmm. It's hand carved. We do a square cut. It is a process where you slice it on a mandolin, very thin, maybe about 1/8 of an inch thick. So we slice it. We drop it in a 350-degree temperatured oil. And we kind of have to stimulate the potato, kind of massage it.
How do you stimulate the potato?
So
Tell me
we
about
stimulate the potato in this hot oil, 350-degree oil, by shaking the big pot. You know, it's a nice, probably about a 12-quart pot. And we agitate it. We just agitate the potato, kind of get it stirring, kind of activate it, make it happy. From that point, from 350 degrees, we're going to a 450-degree vat of oil. Okay. It's like an injection of hot air, and you inject something with hot air, it wants to expand. And the potato expands. Mm-hmm. At that point, once it expands, we kind of toss it, kind of make sure it's semi-golden brown. Then we remove it. We lay it on a pan, lay them all nice and neat and like little soldiers on foil, and then we freeze them. It goes into the freezer. When they're ready, the guests are ready to pick them up, we go ahead and drop them back in a 450-degree vat of oil. So they expand. It's almost like a twice fried potato. Yes. At that point.
How long do they freeze for? Is it overnight or is it just
a couple of days? Anything past that, they start to deteriorate.
And you serve them with béarnaise or?
Béarnaise sauce. Yeah.
How many potatoes on a plate? I'm sure they're structured to us.
We do a dozen to a plate.
When it comes to your team, how do you train your team to respect, you know, the classic Creole technique and to have that kind of discipline that it takes to produce a soufflé potato?
And they have to, one, embrace the culture and the passion. If they don't have the passion, and
do you sniff that out pretty quickly?
Well, sure, yeah. I mean, you know, cream rises to the top and quickly. I mean, you know, when we're doing 700-800 covers, the boys get separated from the men, so to speak. And I also have plenty of young ladies back there too. I mean, you know, it's a lot different than what it used to be. And, you know, everybody has to have a passion. If you don't have the passion for it, you're not going very far. You're there for, you know, a paycheck. We try to look for people that are going beyond that. Yeah. You know?
It's very cool. How important is consistency when guests have been ordering the same dish here for generations and they want that same experience every time they come back?
I think that's, I mentioned passed on generation to generation. Yeah, if somebody comes in, they were here, in the 50s, the 60s, they taste that same Meuniere sauce that goes on that fried Trout Meuniere. That sauce has got to be the same, and people expect it to be the same. And they recall themselves, oh, well, I was here when I was a child. That's about the biggest compliment I can really receive. They say, wow, this tastes exactly the same. You're talking about, 40 years of separation for it to taste the same. That says a lot. It says a lot about, not just about myself and how we run the kitchen, but it says a lot about how a grand dame restaurant is,
So for you personally, when you look at the menu, what is your favorite dish to prepare and plate for someone?
I would say the simplicity of the filet poivre, because it's such a simple sauce, is no frills, straight to the point. I'm a carnivore. I love a great steak.
You're in good company. I love a good steak too.
And it's hard to beat that sauce. It really is. Yeah. I mean, I love the duck Ellen too. I mean, I can go down a line and
that's why I don't, even when I try to pick favorites here, there's so many good things. I was just curious. I totally agree with you. I think the steak au poivre is amazing. I love the Trout Meuniere.
We appreciate it.
And of course the potatoes. Is there anything else that you wanted to share today?
No, it's just, it's a great place, great camaraderie. I love working with the guys in the front of the house. I hope they reciprocate and say, hey, love working with the guys in the back too. But no, it's very, very gelled, very good, cohesive unit we have here.
That's awesome. Do you think you could share some of your potatoes with us?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Now sitting down with Kaitlin Rodgers. You're the director of sales for Arnaud.
Yes, I am.
How did you become the director of sales for Arnaud?
Oh, goodness. So I started here at Arnaud's in 2010 as a private dining coordinator. Our late director of sales, Lisa Sins, had been with the restaurant for 30 years, and she took a chance on me, learned just about everything I need to know about hospitality from her. And when she passed away in 2015, unfortunately, from breast cancer, I took on the responsibility and have been doing it ever since.
So big shoes to fill.
Huge shoes to fill.
Now, are you a New Orleans girl, born and bred?
I am. Born and bred, New Orleanian. Left to go to Ole Miss and came right on back. Hotty toddy.
Well, you have the French 75 next to you. We should have asked Christoph to make a hottie toddy. How did you feel about Ole Miss's run this year?
It was a great run.
Okay.
A little disappointed on how it ended, but a fantastic run, and now just looking forward to next year.
Current feelings on Lane Kiffin.
No comment.
No comment. So tell us about the private dining rooms. We've been on the main floor, which is amazing. How many private dining rooms do you have? Kind of talk us through the whole experience.
So actually, any of our dining rooms here on property can be made private. So we have a total of 17 dining rooms, 3 balconies, and 2 bars, the French 75 and the Richelieu bar.
So you can actually reserve the French 75?
You absolutely can for private events. We have a lot of wedding receptions here that utilize the downstairs space, the main dining room, and the French 75 bar. And I like to say there really is something for everyone because each dining room has its own specific charm and its own character. But we can accommodate anywhere from 2 to 220 seated, and throughout the restaurant, 1,500 reception style.
Wow.
Yeah, and 952 seats. From wedding receptions to rehearsal dinners to corporate events, we do it all. And the goal is to customize each event and tailor it to fit the needs of each customer. But, each dining room that we assign groups to, we want them to feel like that's their room, like they're coming home. So any events, we got you covered.
If someone wants to personalize the room for an event, like decorations or like a certain theme, do you all do that? Do you allow that? Or do you kind of like, no, we need to stick to this?
As long as there's no glitter or confetti.
Good. Okay.
We are perfectly fine with people, decorating their rooms. We work with a lot of really wonderful local companies that provide decor. We will certainly help customers and guide them, to put them in a room that fits their specific vision, and usually outsource a little extra help here and there from some of our fabulous local vendors to, really make the room shine, even though they shine on their own.
What is the largest group that you ever had to accommodate, numbers-wise? Just, you don't have to say who, but I'm just curious.
1,500 people.
So someone's actually reserved like the entire restaurant?
Yes. It was a challenge in the best way. And not only did the space, just shine, our staff and our kitchen team were just amazing and, really solidified that they are the best at what they do.
So that's an all hands on deck.
All hands on deck. Every staff member was here making it happen. So it was, really wonderful teamwork and everybody stepped in where they were needed. It was a really cool experience.
I'm assuming that you get feedback from people that have the private dining experience. What's the feedback that you get most often from guests, and what really makes you happy?
I think the best compliment we could ever receive is a customer coming back time and time again for, different events or their corporate event, and then they have their birthday party or a bachelorette party, has a wedding here. So that's the best compliment that we can get. But what I hear most frequently is that, not only did we meet expectations, we exceeded them. We get compliments on our very attentive staff, some of the best in the business, and of course the delicious food that chef and his team, put out every day.
Yeah, I've come in town, and sometimes I come in town with groups of people that have never come to New Orleans before. I've actually rented I've had 17 people in an upstairs private dining room.
Which one?
I've done the Bienville suite.
Yes.
The Bourbon Street suite. I like a balcony. I'm a balcony guy. And so do some of my rowdy friends. They also enjoy a balcony. But I've always been amazed, at the level of service, the attention to detail, everything that you get when you get a private dining room. If someone listening wants to reserve, they want to throw a party, they want to have a family reunion, they want a bridal shower, whatever. How do they do that? How do they get in touch with you?
Sales@arnauds.com is the best way to get in touch with us, or there's a link on our website where you can actually see all of our private dining rooms. You get a really wonderful overview of everything that we have to offer, and there is a request form that you can fill out online, or you can call us and we can talk through the details, see what you envision, and hopefully we're the right fit.
Awesome. When Kaitlin has a hottie toddy party, what room are you getting?
So I personally host a party every year in the Bienville room.
Okay.
And I love that space because it's kind of tucked away. You have your own little private balcony. And, being a local, I love Bourbon Street, but I don't have to, be on Bourbon Street. So I love that space. But if I'm having like a 40th birthday or, something really fun and exciting, I like to be on the Bourbon Street side. So, it just depends on the event and what the ambiance is that you're looking for and what you want. I also had my wedding here many moons ago and used this fabulous downstairs space, the main dining room and the bar. And that was really special. So it all just depends on, what you're looking for.
Very cool. Well, would you mind taking us for a little tour?
I would be happy to.
Awesome.
Let's go take a look.
Thank you. I want to talk to you about the Mardi Gras Museum.
Yeah.
Because that's something very unique.
Absolutely.
To Arnaud's. So the Mardi Gras Museum is unlike anything else in the city. How did it come to live inside Arnaud's?
So you're right. Very few restaurants have museums in them, let alone museums like this. But Germaine Cazeneuve and her father, Arnaud, were very active in some of the Mardi Gras society balls. And this is not done anymore, but Germaine, we believe, was the queen of more Mardi Gras balls than anybody else that we know of. And so she had a lot of these gowns that she kept, and they were kind of in a back room where, no one really could see them, but you'd have to know to ask her if you wanted to go back and see. So we brought in the Louisiana State Museum, and we had a space that was a little bit more accessible. And we put all the gowns on display. And we have a lot of pictures and things from the balls back in the day. And so you can come and see all these things. And I would tell you that it's what people have in mind of Mardi Gras in the street celebrations is a lot different than what goes on with the organizations or crews that put them on. And so there really is a lot more that goes on to it that people don't get to see. Some of them are tied in with the debutante season, and young ladies are presented to society. And so you get a little bit of a peek behind the curtain to see some of these dresses and see some of the photos of what goes on.
That's amazing. So to follow on to that, what role do you think Arnaud's plays in preserving Mardi Gras culture just beyond, food and hospitality?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I can tell you as far as the museum goes, we have some of the oldest pieces that are thought to exist from some of the organizations. I think we have the oldest existing Iris Queen's gown, which is a ladies' organization that parades going back a long time. And I think we have one of the oldest Hermes King's outfits from her father. And so those are kind of neat things just to know that they're up there for those that care. But, listen, we're right here in part of the French Quarter where all these organizations come down to meet. In the lead up to Carnival, there's all sorts of dinners and get-togethers. And so this is not a name that comes to mind when you're walking down the street during Carnival. We are part of the whole experience and the lead up to it. And so.
No, absolutely. I have to ask you this question, not trying to put you on the spot. As a fellow New Orleanian, what do you prefer, Mardi Gras or Jazz Fest?
I'm Mardi Gras all the way.
You are?
Absolutely.
Why?
I just think that being around large groups of people that are having a good time is uplifting, and there is just no way Like, you cannot have a bad time when everyone around you is celebrating. And while Jazz Fest is a big deal, and there's a lot of people and there's a lot of high spirits, should I say, Mardi Gras, it's happening all over New Orleans. Every neighborhood,
It's true.
It's going on. And it doesn't matter if you're rich or if you're poor. It doesn't matter what you look like. It's something that everybody participates in, and it's pretty special.
For a Mardi Gras newbie, someone who's never been to Mardi Gras before, what advice would you give them while they're trying to put together their first trip to the Gras?
I would tell people that I think a lot of people have something in mind, when they think of Mardi Gras, and it probably relates to the French Quarter and a lot of carrying on.
Yeah.
But I would say that they should plan on exploring some of the other neighborhoods and see what's going on there, because you can go head down the river into the Marigny and the Bywater, and you can have a totally different experience. You can head uptown where it's a lot more family friendly. And I don't think a lot of people think of Mardi Gras as family friendly, but you can bring your kids here and have a wonderful time up on the avenue and catch parades. And it's not quite as crazy as what you might find here in the French Quarter where we are now.
Are you riding this year?
I am riding 3 times.
Okay.
I think. Yeah. So
Give me the breakdown.
I'm going to ride Friday night in Creux d'Etat,
Okay.
and then my wife rides on Saturday during the daytime in Iris. And then I ride Monday night in Proteus, and then Tuesday morning in Rex.
Wow.
So I've got a full, I got to find time to work in between all those things.
Step back to the newbie, someone coming to New Orleans for Mardi Gras. Are there any reservations left at Arnaud's, or are you guys completely booked up?
No, you know what? We're, one of the beauties of being the size that we are is that
You have a lot of square footage.
We have a lot of square footage here. I don't think people realize how big it is. Now, the one thing I would tell you is the Friday before Mardi Gras is one of the hardest tickets to get in
Sure.
New Orleans. And so if you're not already on the book somewhere, that's probably not going to happen.
That's fair. Earlier, you shared some of your earliest memories of Arnaud's after your parents acquired the restaurant in 1978. Now, 5 decades later, as a steward of this place, what moments really make you stop and reflect how far the restaurant and your family has come?
I'll tell you that I've had this feeling, a lot, but most recently at Christmas, and we always have, but even now, it's when I see my generation that come to the restaurant, Christmas Eve, and when you walk into your dining room and every table,
Yes.
every family, and that this is part of their tradition. And I always say about this business, it's the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. And that's a particularly high moment when you have that warm feeling and everyone is so delighted to be here and thankful to be here. And of course, we feel the same way about them. And those are just one of those moments that stick out where your heart is just full.
That's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
So your father played a significant role in the history of Arnaud's.
Yes.
What do you feel is the most important lesson that he taught you that you still carry forward and apply today?
I don't know that he taught me directly, but he did in doing is how he taught me is, number one, the details matter in this business. And more importantly, it's how you treat people and both customers and staff. And, it's really a bit more about how you treat like the least among us than it is about the most important person. And I think that was my biggest takeaway. It's about caring. It's about paying attention. It's about, having empathy and all those things. And I think that goes a long way into creating sort of we're a family restaurant, but and sounds sort of hokey, but this is a family place. We have staff that's been here for the longest time, and you can go anywhere for a corporate feel where, and this is different. And, I think that one of the reasons people have been here for so long is because of the way that they're treated by, being part of the team / family here.
Well, you just said it. You are a family restaurant. You work with your mother and your sister. I'm going to let that sink in for our listeners for a second. I'm going to say, bless your heart. There's no way I could work with my mom and my sister. But seriously, how does working with family, what does that bring to the business that you can replicate any other way?
Well, I have 3 very strong women in my life, my wife, my sister, and my mother.
Does your wife work here too?
She does not.
Okay,
there's
God.
only so much we can take. But, No, she does not work here, and I don't think she wants to work here because she has to hear about it plenty enough.
Sure.
But the good thing is that we all have a shared vision about what Arnaud's was, what it is, and what it should and will be. And I think that goes a long way to have everybody on the same path. And we are always around. There's one of us is always here, whether it's dining or at work. And I think that matters in businesses, being present, being aware of what's going on. And I tell people all the time, I say, if you heard the way that we speak to one another, sometimes you might think that we don't get along at all, but that's just part of the way we communicate.
Yeah. No, I get it, man. I appreciate that.
One day we'll have a lot of therapy to sort it all out.
Therapy is a good thing.
Yeah.
It's a step in the right direction.
Well, we do ours at the table.
Oh my God. I was going to ask you that. So we'll lighten it up a little bit and take this home. But so going back to the first time visitor, they walk into the French 75 bar. What must they order at the bar?
Well, that's obvious. A
Just
French
the first-
75,
okay.
of course.
Okay, of
so
course,
the
of
namesake, but I love the classic cocktails, and I'm a gin drinker, so
What's your go-to?
Well, if it's not on the rocks, I'd say Negroni all the way. So
Okay. A Negroni,
can't go wrong with a Negroni.
Okay. Dish from the kitchen. Must have.
Got to go with what we call the Arnaud's Happy Meal, which is starting off with shrimp remoulade and then Trout Meuniere, and followed by a creme brulee.
Wow. That's solid.
That's 100% New Orleans right there.
That's strong. One detail in the building or the museum that you want someone to notice before they leave.
Well, I hope that if somebody comes to visit us, they take time to have a drink in the bar and they, maybe have dinner and walk around upstairs and take a peek into the various dining rooms.
So people can do that.
Yeah. And if you're not able to, you can always go on our website at arnaudsrestaurant.com and take a look at the space. But what you'll notice when you walk around here is that this complex was not built to be a restaurant. Mm-hmm. And so the founder, Arnaud Cazeneuve, started with the building on the corner. And then as his business prospered, he started acquiring the adjacent buildings, and he would just bust a hole in the wall. And next thing you know, he's got more space. And so when you're walking around, we always say, if you look, you can see the tile floors changing as you go from one building to the next. And so it's kind of neat when you're in an old space like this, that's just totally different than what most people are used to when they go out to dinner.
Absolutely. Well, Archie, thank you for preserving not just a restaurant, but a living piece of New Orleans history. And thank you for listening to Retire Southern. You can find this episode and more at retiresouthern.com and follow us on social media at Retire Southern. And until next time, remember, don't wait for retirement to start living.
Amen.